So Indie Devlog 3, I've created a character, I've managed to import it. I've also tweaked the aim offset, so it's always now looking directly into where the camera is going to be looking. So if there was a crosshair in the middle, the gun should always be pointing into the middle. I also, obviously you can see there, he's crouching now. That's something else I did. And I imported a bunch of, well, I say imported, I duplicated a bunch of poses to help with certain issues. I had a lot of issues. But I did tackle it all in the end. It is all fixed, kind of. But yeah. So I'm starting off with the character. These are the old poses, the old models, and these are this is the new one. I went for, I was going for more of an anime kind of style. Couldn't go into too much detail about it all. There's not really much to be said. It took a while, and I got there in the end. And that's him without any of his clothing. So the first attempt was to create a head, and it took a lot of trial and error, multiple attempts. But I think I was happy with the end product. I've got a couple of time-lapse videos as well, which I intend to release as separate videos.
Okay, so after spending all that time modelling on the character, I returned to Unreal Engine, just making sure everything was still working as the way it was when I left it. For the most part, it seemed okay, everything was normal, until it wasn't. Importing the character turned out into this mess. I thought it was quite funny at the time, but I think I was thinking at the time that it was another problem, another thing to fix. So it looked normal, but then when I equip the weapon, everything becomes huge. This issue stomped me for a while until I kind of figured out it was the top half that was being affected only. So then you just break it down and be like, well, the aim offset is the only reason why it gets broken up. And so here I was bringing out all of the poses and the animations just to see what was going on. Arms aren't quite reacting as they were supposed to either. Down by his sides as opposed to running around. And then when I did finally fix it, all of the poses started praying to God. But the character was fixed. So, didn't care for the individual poses, I was just happy that the character was fixed again. Looking at the character when bringing him in, his face wasn't quite right, particularly around the mouth, but when I was comparing it between Blender and Unreal, Blender was fine, so there was some sort of importing process which had gone wrong. I found that if I triangulate the model first and then import it, it turned out alright. The hair was also not quite all the way. It was inside the head at some bits, so I had to just exaggerate them, coming out a little bit more. Also, looking at it, I had to kind of decide, well, I'm still kind of in deciding what to do, if it should be flat or shaded. I kind of like the shaded skin, but then flat for everything else, so I might end up experimenting and seeing what I can come up with. Okay, so for this bit I wanted to make the aiming more dynamic, so I had a trace route, a line trace coming out of the camera in red, and then the blue was where the gun was supposed to be pointing. But it didn't turn out that way. There was issues to begin with. Right there, it's like, even though the gun's away, it's still pointing straight forward. And this time I did fix it, so it was coming straight out of the gun, straight to where it was looking, so it was a straight line. But I think it was this point I was discovering that even though the character's pointing straight forward, it wasn't directly where the camera was looking. To try and fix that. That's where the idea of the dynamic aiming kind of came from in the first place. I feel like I've seen it in other games, but I can't quite remember any as an example at the moment, right off the top of my head. So I just wanted it to shoot where, or point where the camera's pointing, as with most games. It's up close, it'll aim closer. As it aims away, it'll aim away. The common issues is when you get too close to things. His reaction as well was also quite slow at times, so I didn't quite know. As you more reactive turning and things, it takes longer to correct itself into the middle. And then there, getting too close to the wall, it just doesn't register in any way. So ideally I would want him to potentially bring his arms up, do something to suggest that you're too close. The other issues I had with it was when I was going to the extremes, so when you aim straight up, it doesn't like trying to get centered. And the same for when you go straight down as well. It's the same sort of thing. It doesn't quite like it. So I put that on the back burner for a minute. I just wanted to come up with something because I felt like it'd been a while before I'd created a video. So even though all these things are taking me a very long time, it's well, there's something more obvious other than just adapting to retweaking the aiming. So I wanted to put in a crouch. Essentially, it was taking the walking cycle, which I had already created, and bringing the hips down and adjusting the body and the arms. I kind of liked it. I like how it turned out. I just need to do maybe a sped up version, which might be a case of just looking at the running and then lowering the hips again. I don't know how that's going to work. It'll be fun to have a look and try though. And then bringing it into the game, I put it as the same sort of thing as you would the walk cycle. So you've got your different directions. He stands up a little further than what I'd shown in Blender because he's mixing between crouch walk and the running, the standing run, and that's where you get like that nice kind of in between, which is fine until he starts to strafe side to side, and then going into the aiming as well, it just works fine because it's only taking into account the upper half. The lower half is still walking around as it should.
So returning to the aim offset, I just wanted to try and demonstrate what was going wrong. Here, the camera, the red dot is where the camera is looking. So wherever the camera looks, he's supposed to look at. When he pulls the gun out, it's fine if you're looking straight in the middle, but then if you look straight up or straight down, based on the aim offset that I had created, it doesn't follow along. It's where his gun is now pointing. It's not pointing into the middle, and this was just driving me nuts. A quick fix is to have the camera directly behind the character, because then you don't have to worry about him not looking directly up or down. But that's not what I was going for. I wanted it over the shoulder, but then doing it over the shoulder meant that he wasn't then lined up properly. So it was just about me trying to... I spent so long trying to figure out how to get him just to point into the middle, and funny enough, there's not a lot of tutorials or things online. There's lots of people, I won't say lots, there's a couple of examples of people who have done it, but they don't go into detail onto how. There is one person though, which I took a lot of inspiration from, and is tutorial helped me. It took me, I had to watch it at least 5 to 10 times to get my head wrapped around what he was doing. But in the end, it all worked out. As you can see, it's yeah, it was a great success, I think. My next issue would probably be when I change the weapon, because it's all geared around using the pistol. So as soon as I change the weapon out, I'm expecting it to go all horribly wrong again. But hopefully not. But yeah, I've realised I've taken far too long just messing with this. So my progress is kind of, might look like it's stopped dead. But I've been trying to get my head wrapped around it all. It's a good learning point. Good learning. Steep learning curve. But yeah, did it in the end.
Hey, if you made it to the end of the video, then thank you for watching. If you're enjoying what you see, please consider subscribing to stay in the loop with my progress. I really do appreciate it. Thank you.